So Caleb Dempsey and Branden Brookfield of the Racing Service Testing Laboratory will share with you the data that is taken by the Racing Surface Testing Laboratory for review by racing stakeholders, including racetrack operators, Horsemen's Association, state racing commissions, and HISA. So let's welcome Kaylin and Branden.
Morning, and thank you all for having me out here. A lot of familiar faces today. If I haven't been out to your track, I've probably bugged you on the phone or an email. But today I'm going to be going through the on-site testing and what that looks like when I arrive at your track, specifically the pre-meet on-site testing. And so leading off here, this is the HISA regulations from the 2000 rule series that specifically reference the racetrack surface monitoring. This is for the dirt and synthetic. And even for the tracks that are non-HISA out there, we like to think that this is a really good set of goals that we want to supply you when we come out and perform our on-site testing. And so we're looking at the geometry and the slopes, straights and turns, going to be able to tell you your crossfall grades, accuracy of the distances from the marker poles one to another, cushion and base geometries, a base inspection, and we're using ground penetrating radar to do that. The mechanical properties of the racings and training tracks at your facilities. And then we're also sampling. And this is the regulations for the turf. It is pretty much the exact same thing, except for we've got documentation of the turf profile and turf species. Is the big change there. And if you have a movable rail, I'll also take measurements on that in the inspection. And so looking at that list, how do we fulfill those requirements? For us, it is going to be, we start with the orthobiomechanical surface tester. You'll hear us call it OBST when we're on site. And that is typically what we lead off with. It is also referred to as the hoof tester. Following that, we're going to be doing ground penetrating radar around the inner racing lanes of your surface, which you can see there is the sled and the walking wheel. And following that, we're going to be doing the rail inspection and pull distances. And I'm going to conclude the day with surface crossfall and grades. And so continuing, what do I need to start when I arrive at your facility? And for testing, ideally, we are looking at a race-ready surface. The exact same setup as far as maintenance, moisture, how you would prepare it in between training. That is what we really want to test on. It is going to be the most true representation of what your surface is at the time of racing. And so for us, again, your daily routine should not be changed. Again, if you start to introduce something new, it can create anomalies in the testing that are just on that day, as well as we don't want to test on a sloppy surface. Obviously, if we're coming out there and taking data, we want to be taking representative data that is on your ideal surface. And so as we start our day with the OBST, I am going to be doing drops at every 8th pole 3 times at 7 and 15 feet. It's a total of about 48 points, and it gives us a fairly representative sample size of your track. The information that this is going to produce for us, we get a cushioning, impact firmness, and slide value at each one of these drops. This is also going to be paired with a cushion depth measurement and a moisture measurement. And in this, we are able to look at each drop location and determine the consistency at a given pole, as well as the consistency over the track as a whole. Following the OBST, the track is typically sealed, and we can also do it on an open surface. we are going to be running the ground penetrating radar. This is a really great way for us to take a look at the layers of your racetrack without having to move any material and it being non-invasive as possible. And so with the radar, I'm going to be making 4 laps around those inner racing lanes. And you can see some of the points here as far as how much data that is really taking while I am going around. It is about 1 data point every 4 inches. And so that is 3 points per 1 foot. Again, if you're a mile racetrack, we're going around and doing that 5,000 times, 4 laps, about 63,000 data points. And what that allows us to do is take a really hard look at what is underneath, as well as being able to spot check it. This has a GPS connected to it. And so it's not somewhere around the 7/8 pole, it was a little soft. I can give you a specific location that we know right at this point, our cushion depth increased. And so if it's something that we wanted to go back and take a look at, again, we have got a very specific place to go to. Again, this is also going to allow us to look at the surface consistency as a whole. With that many data points, you're really going to get a much better idea than somebody going out there either with a ruler or a marking stick and checking the cushion manually. You're just going to be able to get a lot more data in a lot shorter amount of time. The final part that I have on the racetrack that is really invasive and more keeping the equipment off is going to be the surface grades and crossfall. And so again, we're going to be doing this at every 8th pole. And so this is going to give us a pretty representative look at your track's straights and turns. And for a lot of you also maybe a few transitions. And so the way we do this is we set up our laser and we are taking a measurement at 0, 10, 20, and 30 feet from the rail. Again, this is going to give us a pretty good idea of what the crossfall is at that location on your racing lanes. And so the information this produces and how it is valuable to you all is it's just going to be a quick checkup of how your track is handling the elements or the maintenance that is going on. Obviously, that material is always moving and it is a daily struggle to keep that material where it needs to be. And so it's a great checkup for how your track is handled either the last week or if you graded even more recently, a check of maybe how well that turned out. The last thing that I'm going to go through and do while I'm on site is the rail height and pole distance. And so the rail height is going to be a measurement from the top of the cushion to the top of the rail. What this is going to give us the ability to do is take a look at the overall depth of your material and just judge the consistency from that standpoint. While we're going around, if you have greater fluctuation within that rail height at your inside rail, you may have had some material move that you just didn't realize. There could be maybe a few inches that come down and it's just started to build up. And so that's a great indicator for us to look at. For the pole distance, the same GPS that I'm using while I'm going around on the radar, I'm actually using to GPS mark your poles, which you can see on the image to the right there. And so I'll actually be able to drop that location at each one of those poles and we can go back then while I'm doing the report and I can actually measure those using those GPS coordinates and give a really accurate depiction of how accurate those pole distances are. And again, so this is going to produce that data that you want to look at to determine how consistently your material is spread over your track, especially on those inside racing lanes. And then it's also going to allow you to maybe take a look at how accurately your poles are placed. As I'm going around throughout the day, I will be taking track samples as well as I am doing the OBST in particular. You can see the different sampling protocols that we have there for different surfaces and different distances. And so we take those samples back to the lab and you will get that in a separate report, but it is something we typically do on the on-site testing day. The information you're going to get from this is sand, silt, and clay percentages that obviously all of us are looking at as we do material additions throughout the year. You're also going to get your particle size distribution. As far as maintenance is concerned, it is going to be the factors that affect compaction, your drainage, how well your material is holding together. And again, these results are provided in a composition report that's going to be sent independently of the on-site testing. For a lot of you, we also have weather stations out. That is something I will also maintain while I'm there, ensuring that it's cleaned out and still operational. Obviously, those weather stations are great for you all, given the information that they're going to produce real time. So you've got your temperature, your humidity, wind gusts and speed, direction, rainfall. All of those are really great tools to have at your fingertips as you come in to your tracks in the morning, as you go throughout a race day, and you would like to know how much rain are we getting right now? How much water do I need to throw out because we've got some pretty severe wind gusts? And so all of that information is really helpful. And again, that is just another part that you will receive as we are on site. And so it's just a recap of the on-site testing. Our typical on-site test day is going to lead off with the OBST at about an hour and a half. It's going to be followed up by the ground penetrating radar, which also takes about an hour and a half. And at that point, normal maintenance can resume. So after about 3 hours, whatever needs to be done on the racetrack, watering, harrowing, other things that need to take place throughout the day, that can all resume. The sampling takes about 30 minutes. The grade and rail inspection is going to be roughly an hour to go around the entire course. And the weather station is going to take me about 30 minutes to look through. So in total, we're looking at about 4.5 to 5 hours of me being on site with you, with about 3 of that where I need to be on the racetrack unimpeded. As far as the results go, the things you're going to receive, I guess, from my on-site testing, you're going to get a maintenance manual, an on-site testing report within about 5 to 7 days, and a track samples composition result, and that is going to be about 7 to 10 days. Obviously, I'm going to communicate this with you all through email and other various means of messaging, but your results are also going to appear on the MQS when that is complete. And so that is our maintenance quality system. And each of the tracks here has a page, and I will get into that just a little bit as far as viewing your results and then some of the other things in the MQS system. And so the maintenance quality system is a database that RSCL created, and the Jockey Club has really helped push forward as we've kind of come into this age of HISA. Our goal is to produce a database with a simplified user interface that really encourages and enables you all to take a detailed record keeping of what you're doing on your racetrack. And so again, you're going to be able to put your maintenance data in there, daily surface measurements, your weather data is going to go to this, and all reports that RSTL produces will be posted to your MQS page. And so for each track, you will have individual users that can log into their own accounts. You can see as many tracks as you're associated with. Obviously, Naira, Maryland, Stronach, some of these larger groups, you're going to be able to see all the tracks that you're affiliated with on your dashboard. Once you click on your dashboard, you're going to be brought to this page. On this page, you're going to find the weekly forecast, the racing card, and training times for that day as well as over the previous month. On the dashboard, it is also available to see your maintenance data, cushion depth, and moisture overviews for, again, that day and the previous days. On that first page, you're also going to see a maintenance manual tab. In that tab, it's going to be things that I have collected from the day that I was on site. as far as what equipment you have, what patterns you may be running, what typical maintenance practice look like, speeds at which you're driving that equipment. It's all things that I'm gathering to put into this maintenance manual. It's just a reference. Part of the HISA requirements is also that we log the daily maintenance and daily measurements, specifically cushion and moisture on dirt surfaces. On synthetic, it's going to be temperature, and on the dirt is going to be penetration and more, or the turf rather, it is going to be penetration and moisture. Entering that data, there's going to be tabs on your dashboard page. You are going to select the date, the surface, if you're racing that day. You're also going to be able to then go through and select your specific equipment and what you did with it that day. How many rounds, what direction you were going, what depths you were running at, how much water you were putting on. And that leads me to the next point is we can customize your track details and equipment names. If you see something on there or don't see something on there rather that you would like added, we can add that. We can customize the name so that it's familiar to you and make sure that you guys have everything in there so that you can keep a better log of what your maintenance routine looks like. Entering the daily moisture measurements and daily cushion measurements is going to be very similar to that of the daily surface maintenance. You're going to select a tab off your dashboard for the add moisture, select the track, the date. The difference here is you will be selecting a location. The locations we have logged in there right now are the HISA mandated quarter poles, but we can also add other distances if needed. And you will then select that location and the measurement that would enter the measurement that was taken at that location. And you can see in the bottom image there, that is what it is going to look like once you have entered everything. Again, going with the cushion, very similar: track, date, location, and then the measurement. And this leaves me kind of full circle here. On the MQS is also, like I said, where you all can view any reports that we have taken in the past visits and even the visits before that. And so it is going to be a complete log of any on-site testing, composition testing, specific lab testing that we have done on your surface. And it's a great reference rather than trying to flag it in your email and keep track of it.